Hello, wherever you are in any part of the world. Hello from my heart to yours.
See the same people every other day, but we never say hey, cause we're never looking the way, or my face was in my notebook. We passed each other, didn't look. But these are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, big small towns, overlapping side by side, big small towns. I see new people every day. Everyone's on their way, doing the things that failed their day. And I'm going places too, doing the things that I do with my time. We are the people of the towns, of the towns, the towns, of the towns. And large cities are just a bunch of big small towns, big small towns, diagonal, top to bottom, big small towns. Be nice to the people of the towns. Once in a while look around, cause what's going around's coming around. What came around's coming around. What's going around's coming around. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns. Big, 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 small towns. Word gets around in the big small towns.
Hey everybody, welcome to Downballot. We usually do this show live 7:30 p.m. Pacific right here on Twitch. That's twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Check out our new podcast, of course. It's called Used to Be a Spy. You can find it on your favorite podcatcher. The Councilman was on the first episode, and it was a lot of fun. It's a Burn Notice rewatch podcast. I just actually did the script for episode 2 last night, so we're getting ready for that. If you want to support this project, you can do that at echoplexmedia.com. Click the support link at the top of the website, and you can find your favorite way to support the podcast, or the streams, or me eating curry. Anyway, I'm producer Dave, and you can find me on Grindr.
What's up, everybody? This is the Councilman. I'm happy to join you, producer Dave. You can find me up in Blue Sky. You can probably find me on X still, but I don't really go there anymore. So if you find me, it's not really all that exciting. And as of this morning, you could find me up in Nirvana Soul, sampling their fine coffees. Please check them out. Many locations in downtown San Jose, a nice locally owned BIPOC business. So please do pop in sometime. I had the ube latte. Felt really good going down.
Oh.
Okay. Massive props to them. Thank you.
Very, very nice. Very nice. The other place I guess you can find, was just reminding the chat to go to eplex.store and buy merch. That's what you should do to support this project.
Oh, hell yeah. Or give on the old, can you still do the Patreon thing? I think I'm still doing Patreon.
Yeah. There's Patreon there too, but like, I don't prefer that. Anyway, that's neither here nor there. And also, I guess if you're in the Bay Area, make sure you check out my monthly event at Bricks. It's called You Never Dance Alone. And that's every fourth Friday at Bricks 581 in Oakland. And there's house music every Friday night there. Other promoters are doing it. And we just added an upstairs room with a jungle drum and bass to my night. So
very nice. So you got all kinds of EDM going up in that space. Yeah,
should be fun.
We'll lovely. Well, I never dance alone. I'm always dancing with someone, whether it's myself or, the ghosts in the machine. So you can always find me dancing with somebody. Maybe my shadow. Hey, shadow.
Speaking of dancing, what do we got for leading off?
There was some dancing happening in downtown San Jose. And once again, just like the Fisher show, the councilman had no idea it was happening until there was traffic snarling up downtown San Jose. And I was wondering, what the fuck is this? So we're going to find out what the fuck this was.
Huge crowds in the South Bay tonight as the San Jose earthquakes build up excitement for a very big game. The team threw a block party with music superstar Steve Aoki, fitting because they're about to face a superstar on the field. Tomorrow night, the earthquakes play soccer star Lionel Messi and his Inter Miami club. It set off Messi mania with fans crowding outside his hotel just trying to get a glimpse. ABC 7 News reporter Tim Johns explains why tonight's block party is a sign of bigger things to come for the South Bay.
Superstar DJ Steve Aoki taking the stage in San Jose Tuesday night to a crowd of thousands. The famous DJ, who is known for throwing cakes at his audience members, taking part in a special block party thrown by the city and the San Jose earthquakes. The Quakes will play a highly anticipated game against global soccer star Lionel Messi on Wednesday. And San Jose is using the block party and Aoki to hype the city up.
I've known you for like 15 plus years. I've been hearing the music, so I was like, bro, when I knew about it, it's like, sign me in, please.
An estimated 12 to 15,000 people came out to see Aoki at Tuesday's block party, including San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan.
I'm just here for the vibes. And I like to dance.
Organizers say the concert, in addition to the hype surrounding the big soccer game, are pouring millions of dollars into the South Bay's economy.
Messi has the economic impact of Taylor Swift. He's one of the biggest soccer players in the world.
This is untrue.
What we're trying to showcase is San Jose is a marketplace where that world-renowned talent can come and experience what San Jose has to offer.
This block party has excited people here in San Jose all week, but organizers tell me this is just a taste of some of the things that we're going to be seeing here in the South Bay all next year.
Which includes FIFA World Cup, Super Bowl, and NCAA West Regionals. So during those three events, you can imagine concerts like this to be paired with those activations.
And with so much to look forward to over the next year or so, many here say they're just excited to see the city in the spotlight.
It's going really well. I think it's successful, and it could become something more that brings the community together.
In San Jose, Tim Johns, ABC 7 News.
So, I've talked about this a lot, actually. Like, this is all well and good. Like, Steve Aoki, actually, like a class act as far as like DJs go. He doesn't do it. He's not like, there's a lot of people who reach his level of fame in the electronic music scene are assholes. All indications of Steve Aoki is not one. But, and you're probably going to agree with this, next Steve Aoki ain't coming out of San Jose.
Not really. Not if we don't allow them the space to become the next Steve Aoki, right? Like, where do you go to become the next Steve Aoki in San Jose? I don't think there is space like that, and we're providing the space for him, and that's great. And it's wonderful to get that many people coming out and spending their money in San Jose, whether they're from San Jose or not. I really don't care. I would love to have more opportunities for folks from San Jose to experience San Jose, but also, where are the local artists in this event, right? Like, where are the local vendors? Where are the local makers? Where are the local DJs who get to like open for and or go out there and like do a set with Steve Aoki, right? Like if you really want to hype San Jose, or if you want to hype the Bay, or you want to hype the local scene, you got to highlight the local scene. It can't just be like a backdrop. And that's pretty much all they were for this event. Like it was in the SoFa district, in the arts district. And I didn't see any like local arts presence. That like there was local arts groups that are like in the building. Like they work and have their spaces in the building next door to where he was playing. And they didn't know this was happening, or they weren't engaged or asked to like pitch in, help out. Like, hey, do you just want to have a table or a booth, right? Just to promote what you're doing to all these thousands of people who are coming downtown. No, like none of that. So it was a missed opportunity, but it's just another example of a missed opportunity. And it's like they said, it's a sample of things to come. Well, it's going to be a massive missed opportunity next year when all we have are these sort of like this event. And again, all props to Steve Aoki. It's not his fault. He was the DJ that got recruited to play the show. But these corporate carpetbagger, AstroTurf kind of events that aren't really highlighting local culture at all. They're just an excuse for people to drink outside and for some people to make money, and for corporate sponsors to feel good about themselves and say, oh, look, I gave back to the city, so therefore approve my development project, right? It's pretty much what's going on here. And also, by the way, video not included, the mayor did get caked. Mayor Ed 209. So maybe next week I'll pull up the Instagram video and we can watch that live. But it's something I will never unsee. I will need years of therapy to unsee it. And it was such a performative piece of bullshit to me, because this guy, all he does is talk about back to basics and common sense and focus, and doesn't want to really seriously talk about investing in local arts and culture, but totally willing to get on board with this event because, PG&E is sponsoring it, and J. Paul and West Bank and all these huge developers are sponsoring it, and all his friends and his donors are sponsoring it. And therefore he's all for it, right? And it's going to generate, he can see that it's generating tax revenue, that people are coming out and spending their money in San Jose. So it's just gross to me, honestly, to see him dancing there with his gum in his standard button-down shirt and gray blazer look, right? Like as if he's rocking Steve Aoki on his way to and from City Hall every day in the car, right? Or any kind of EDM at all. I don't see him as like the house kind of guy or a jungle guy. So anyway, it's gross.
There's an event on Post Street. It's like at an outdoor space right next to Max. All the DJs are from Oakland.
When is it? Is it a regular thing? It happens like once a month?
I'm seeing stuff from it because it's one of the people I work with at Bricks that's putting it together. I'm going to be probably playing the second one. But
sweet.
I like asked, I was curious. I was like, oh, did you look for DJs in San Jose? And the guy says to me, there's DJs in San Jose.
And frankly, that may be true. But at least they brought people from Oakland, right? Like they're getting local, they're getting you, like you've lived down here. You have played down here. We could go ask Chip DeVille. I'm sure he'd be available, but he's not like San Jose to the core either, right? So it's what's happened is that this has gone on for so long. The neglect of the local scene has gone on for so long, especially with live music, as you well know, that it's created like a desert. Because if you don't nurture that scene, if you don't nurture an arts and cultural scene, then you're not creating and you don't encourage sustainability and try to prop up that scene because it needs support, especially right now. It needs spaces, it needs funding, it needs so many things, attention, marketing. If you don't do that, you're not creating spaces for the next generation, for the next crop of artists. And they're not going to find, even if they grew up here, they're not going to find the space to make their art here, and they're going to go make it somewhere else, right? And they're going to find another place that does appreciate them and does provide them the space to do their work. And it's not in San Jose right now, and that's what's getting missed, I think, in the chatter I'm hearing about, like, oh, the nonprofits just taking the money and running, and not giving back, and we can't keep just shoveling out money when we the arts and culture feed back into the economy constantly, right? And and you need to keep that reciprocity going in order to grow and to allow the scene to thrive. And it's just not happening right now.
And I mean, not for nothing, you know, the electronic music stuff in San Jose has been, it's been like these two things that we've seen have been these big, huge things, right? So I think what's going to happen too, it's unfortunate for the people who are hustling down there trying to do stuff. I think a lot of people are going to sort of expect this level of production, maybe if they go to a local show, because this is all they've been, they're like, oh, I love this music. Is there anything like this going on? And maybe they find something, and the level of production just isn't going to be there. It's not going to be outside. It's going to be inside. It's going to be in a small venue. You know, shout out to the Caravan actually for starting to open things up to DJs. It's very, 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 if any place was going to do it, it was going to be the Van, right? But you know, but somebody goes to a show at the Caravan and the DJs are going to be great or whatever, because there's no shortage of people who know how to rock the discotheque. But you know, they're just not, they're not going to get Steve Aoki. They're not going to get this giant performance. You know, Steve Aoki does this one thing and he does this thing I don't like, where he stands on the fucking, like where the decks are.
On the decks,
like, yeah, don't do that. Don't do this. I mean, at least he's not standing on the decks like fucking Deadmau5 does. But like this is like not what this scene is about. And if there's going to be a local like dance music scene in your area, it's going to be at small discotheques, right? This isn't going to be it. It's like it's going backward almost, right? It's like first, like in San Francisco, right, there was this underground scene, and then it built up, and a lot of the locals started taking gigs out of town and making a name for themselves. And then San Francisco started having like bigger festivals, more than just Pride, but there are other festivals that are just DJs everywhere. And you know, San Jose, it seems like because of the way San Jose is, they're like, I don't know, let's just get the most famous DJs in the world and have them out twice a year.
Yeah, and that just belies the underlying point of all of this, and it's just to make money. It's all it is. It's not about celebrating culture. It's not about celebrating San Jose. It's about making San Jose a destination in as much as they can milk people's dollars out of them, right? So yeah, it's going to be big name draws. It's going to be big events. It's not going to be a situation where they're going to be trying to nurture or sustain any kind of scene,
or
right?
Even allow.
Right. Well, they won't, and they don't already. Like these kind of things are only allowable. Like shutting down Santa Clara Street outside of City Hall is only with city support and only with a lot of political clout being thrown around. You don't see that kind of thing happen. You don't see this kind of thing happen in San Jose without a lot of political clout being thrown around. And they're going to talk about the 2026 big sporting events and how this is just an example of that. And they're going to leverage those things. And then what after, right? Like there's, 3 big sporting events. You do a few big concerts and great, and you've generated a little more revenue, some more hotel stays. But what happens after, right? And when Steve Aoki's gone, when Fisher's gone, when the World Cup is gone, what's left, right? We're back to square one again, because you haven't really made an investment in propping up what's here and supporting what's here and hyping what's here, so people don't know what's here. So it just goes back to you and me and friends going to the van because we know where to go, right? But most people won't be aware anymore, and we'll just go back to doing our little thing, twiddling our thumbs until the next big thing that we can leverage, right, comes along. So it's unfortunate, and but it's emblematic, and it's nothing new. It's just we're going to be disrespecting and ignoring and marginalizing the local arts and culture scene and music scene in just a more grandiose way next year. This is just a small sample of it.
I just wonder, like, this ended in the evening. Where the fuck was the after party? Like, what the fuck?
Correct. Where were the after parties, right? But frankly, there could have been plenty. Sofa could have just been lit the fuck up all night long. There's plenty of galleries and spaces and venues where that could have been activated, and I'm sure would have been totally down to activate themselves as to leverage this event, right? But they weren't told. Like, no one knew. Like, no one was engaged like that. It was just like, we're just going to pump some money into this event, and for what purpose, right? Just to draw people down there so that they'll go and have, go to a taco truck later or go to a local restaurant, afterwards, or they'll go to the liquor store, not to engage, right? And experience more arts and more culture and more music and have the party go on. No, it's very simplistic thinking, and they don't think about the before or after. They just think about the thing.
And I don't want to. We do have to eventually move on, but
eventually,
it's interesting that the space that they've sort of labeled as like an entertainment zone. I mean, I know they did it with San Pedro Square, but come on, that's just a mall. Like Post Street, right? Why didn't they do this on Post Street where they already have an entertainment zone? Like,
no, or in the middle of First Street instead of in the parking lot that they, why? Because the parking lot's controlled by the big developers that funded the event. It's their lot. That's where they're planning to do a big development one day, in fact. But so they had access to the lot, and they didn't have to pay to shut down the street. They didn't have to take over when Post Street's already shut down, obviously, but they didn't have to. I don't know if 12,000 people would have fit into Post Street, to be honest with you, but more activations. But
that would have been even cooler.
If having events there, period.
Right.
Cooler,
there's something about exclusivity, right? If you don't show up early, you're not like, I don't know. I just feel like I bet none of this spilled over into Post Street, right? I bet none of it did. Like,
no, nothing.
The gay people, afterwards. But that's because Post is the gayborhood, right? So right.
People went home afterwards. It wasn't even it was, I don't even think it was a weekend night. It was a school night. So yeah, no, it was just like, well, let's roll up the carpets and just milk. And then, okay, we're gone. And I honestly don't know how they got 15,000 people there anyway, because like I said, the marketing, it was very specific channels apparently knew about it, right? If you know,
Instagram and Facebook,
which is fine. And not even so much that, like, I'm on Instagram, I'm on Facebook, but, and I'm connected to all of the orgs, like I'm connected to all of the promoters, and yet, wasn't really on my radar. So,
well, because you said this was thrown by a real estate developer.
Well, I'm also connected with all those folks too, and like the PG&E folks and the city folks, right? And the mayor's office, frankly, and the mayor's arts guy who lives in my neighborhood, right? Like, so it's just surprising to me, but not surprising at all at the same time.
It did give Ed 209 a chance to like pretend that he was interested in like some kind of countercultural movement 20 years ago.
Yeah, right. I'm sure it spoke to him in some way. But yeah, I'll send you the video of him getting caked. It's traumatizing.
Oh, he got a cake thrown at him?
Oh, he got caked, yeah, on stage. It's on Instagram. Speaking of Instagram, it's in a reel.
I would refuse. I would be like, I'm not throwing a cake or anything at the mayor. I know Steve Aoki likes to throw a cake, but I would throw a cake at like a person, not
it's
at
his
the mayor.
post. Yeah, it's his post, actually. It's Aoki's post. He posted the video. He's like, holy shit, I think I just caked the mayor of San Jose. Well, he was probably just wondering who is this douchebag stepping up on stage with me. No one knows who you are, bro. You don't even go here. Get off stage.
Well, let's move on to winners and losers, where there are no winners unless you were rooting for somebody, and then they probably lose.
Correct. And right now, if you're living on the street, if you're unhoused in San Jose or really anywhere in California, you're definitely losing. And some of the folks who are trying to fix it are losing too, because we don't have the power.
Now to the challenge of making it in the Bay. Our region just ranked #1 in the nation in home values. Put another way, homes are more expensive here than anywhere else. NBC Bay Area's Damon Trujillo talked with San Jose's mayor today. He says it's time to build more homes.
The city concedes it needs a lot more housing to meet the demand. Mayor said today, San Jose sometimes just needs to get out of the way.
Wait for it. Here it comes.
Crews are getting the ground ready for a much needed.
See the shovels?
They're fucking staged ass shovels.
Wait for it.
Those shovels are crisis actors.
Wait for it.
1,500 units, 20% of which are considered affordable.
This is a exciting groundbreaking. Thank you all for being here.
Even with this project, the mayor concedes the city is way behind. It needs to build.
That looks like a place nobody can afford to live.
Per year for the next 7 years.
Why do they? Why every time they're like, oh, we're going to build low-income housing, and then they show a rendering of a fucking resort.
Right. Well, these are just like actual houses with just for sale signs. They're not actually representative of what that's going to be on this site.
Yeah, this is just a house on a street, which is fine. Like,
yeah, the rendering you saw with like all the apartments, that kind of thing, condos. That's what that's going to be. That they're just showing these as sort of context for the real estate market, as it were.
Demand. So today's ceremonial turning of the shovel.
Oh, we got to wind it back. We got to see that again. We got to see that. This is the most epic shovel toss
for the next 7 years to meet the demand. So today's
You know, there's a couple things going on here. One, like these people aren't, Homeboy in the Reflectors might actually be working on the project, but like not only, okay, so this is a photo op, but not only did they do a photo op, but they like put a mound of loose dirt there so that none of these people had to actually fucking step on the shovel.
Yes, with their nice loafers, why, or their nice designer shoes. Why would you do that? So yeah, the guy to the right of Mayor Ed Tuin on here is Councilmember David Cohen, whose district this was in. And then, yes, I believe the person on the left in the shades is one of the developers. And I know for a fact the guy on the far left is the city's planning director. Anyway.
Of an oddity. That's because this never happened last year. No new homes were built. The mayor says the city is partly to blame.
Well, the mayor couldn't show up to pretend to work on the project last year. He was busy. He was busy figuring out how to shoot the homeless.
Fees and red tape for housing projects. Add tariffs to it, plus the high cost of lumber and other building supplies, and developers like the Hanover Company were staying away.
All of these projects take institutional equity. They take large construction loans. So these projects have to make financial sense for even if we wanted to go ahead, we can't do that, and developers can't do that without equity and without construction lending.
So the city slashed the one-time fees, which can be in the millions, and eliminated a lot of the red tape to get these projects going. The hope is to lure more developers back to San Jose.
If you remove them and get the unit in the ground, the ongoing property and sales tax revenue will make up for those one-time fees in a handful of years.
And more homes on the market could lower prices. The National Association of Realtors just reported that the Santa Clara County metro area has the highest median price per home in the nation by far at just over $2 million. The Anaheim-Santa Ana area is a distant second at almost $1.5 million. So right now in the South Bay, only a few people are able to afford a down payment.
These are people that have been saving their money in the stock market. They are the Bay Area is very driven as to the stock market's performance.
Strategists predict those home prices should come down with more new projects like this one, but it still could take years. In the South Bay, Damian Trujillo, NBC Bay Area News.
So something here's not adding up. If this is the most expensive place to buy the fucking house, even if it's a little more expensive to build it here or to buy housing, right? Then why the fuck do the developers need like a break? Because everything's just inflated, right? But an appropriately sized developer can just develop the property, and like they're going to get more on the other end of the deal from it. If they're renting them out, they're probably just going to sell it to like a property manager or whatever. Like, but why do they need, if they're like, why do they need like that? Why do they need like the fees to be waived so that they can build in what I would assume would be the most profitable place to build residential in the country, just because it's the most expensive on the selling end?
Yeah, I mean, this is market rate housing. There is a percentage of it that's required by law to be quote unquote affordable.
Notice how the news says what's considered low. They threw that in there because
right. I mean, and low income. Well, low income housing, it's a moving target all the time, and now it's in our area. Actually, it was just found that if you're making less than 150K, you're low income technically in Silicon Valley. So there you go. Yeah, there's a lot going on here. Not to least of which is the math that you're referencing. That developers even the big multi-million-dollar, billion-dollar developers will say and cry over and over again that the math's not adding up for them, and they even bring spreadsheets to study sessions with the city council to say, look, my numbers aren't adding up. I can't get my project built and overcharge for a paltry little condo. I can't pretty much rape the populace for rent dollars because it doesn't add up. The financing and everything doesn't add up. And it's yes, the cost of labor, the cost of goods, all of that is definitely going up. It always does go up. It rarely goes down over time. But there have been some significant spikes lately. So things do cost a lot more than they did, particularly pre-pandemic. But we'd also gotten used to spend. I think the developers had gotten used to a certain cost of living of their own, right? And cost of doing business. And now they're realizing that, we have to pay people a living wage, and we have to actually pay for good, the amount of, pay what goods are worth, right? And the guy, that asshole, that guy we thought would come and save us, Trump, who wanted to come and save our business, he's now putting tariffs on all the shit that we need to build our big buildings, right? So they're getting fucked in all sorts of ways that way. And the only recourse they have is to come to government and say, please reduce our fees or streamline the permitting process, right? To save us money. It's the only way they can save money in any kind of way, like sort of way that they can affect, right? They can't bring down the cost of labor or goods or stop the tariffs now, but they can go to the local government and say, yeah, we don't want to pay those parks fees. We don't want to pay that library fee. We don't want to pay that affordable housing impact fee. We don't want to pay that traffic impact fee. No, we're just not going to pay those things. And these fees make up like... yes, they run in the millions of dollars on projects that are in the hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And yet they claim that, because I got these $5 million of fees reduced, or there's a project that just got $4.5 million of fees reduced on a hundreds of $million project. That was what allowed them to go forward, was getting these fees reduced and making that small adjustment to their profit margins. I'm with you. I don't buy it for 1 second. Because, I'm not going to be able to playing the violin for these people, because there's no universe where you take on these kind of projects if you're not making a shit ton of money, right? You're not going to build that thing unless your whole goal is to make a shit ton of money, and you have a plan to make a shit ton of money. And more than likely, if you can work out, as long as you can get the project entitled and permitted, you can work out with your investors how it gets done, and how the money gets paid back. But you're right. You're going to make shit tons of money off this project because there's demand. People will buy these units. They will rent these units. So yeah, I'm not crying for the developers at all. Who I'm crying for are the people who can't afford to live in these, even the affordable low income, condos that they're building here. That's who I'm crying for. It's great to have more product, and more inventory is always going to be better in general for prices in the market, but at what cost? And Mayor Mahan is not correct. The money might come back in sales tax and other tax revenue, property tax revenue, but that goes into the general fund. That is not money that's directed to parks, right? That's not money that's directed to affordable housing. The reason why you have those fees is because there's not enough funding generated normally or allocated normally to those things, to our parks that have like a $500 million maintenance backlog, right? Or cultural facilities, same thing, right? So unless you have those specific fees targeted to specific needs, it just goes into the general fund, and the council can do whatever they want with it. So if it comes back as sales tax, it's not the same thing. It's just not. So you are losing those dollars because there's no guarantee that it comes back. And the council and this mayor's already proven that they don't give a shit what previous councils have decided or what the norms are or what people want. They're there to spend the money as they see fit, and according to their rules. So he's full of shit when he says that, and that's all there is to it.
It kind of belies the myth that San Jose is like the innovation center of the world or the Bay Area or whatever, because if you can't even innovate an apartment building, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah, no, and we can't get creative about how to build more housing that's affordable for people, but also, yes, dignified and actual housing, not stackable containers, not studios that are clean and have a bathroom and a door that locks and all those things. Yes, but it's still like living in a barracks. It's like living in Stalag 19 or Stalag 17, 19. I forget the film. Sorry, but like living in a camp, a concentration camp in a way, but not like a housing community like this, right? Not many people are going to be able to access this.
I don't know. A lot of people talk shit on the rest of the Bay Area, but I bet Oakland didn't build 0 new housing units last year. I bet San Francisco didn't build 0 new housing units last year. Even in Silicon Valley, I bet Campbell built new housing. I bet Mountain View built new housing. I bet Sunnyvale built new housing last year.
Yes, absolutely. All the things.
Just north of them, I bet Fremont built new housing last year. I bet everybody but San Jose built new housing last year.
Yeah, absolutely. Santa Clara, everyone. And there's a reason why, because they, like you said, they get creative. They make it happen. They don't just cut the fees. They go out and make it happen. They design and they plan for cities that accommodate for that, right? We're all experiencing the homelessness crisis. San Francisco and Oakland, no different, right? They've got they've got tons of people living on the street as well. But as a percentage, and in the context of what of their history and where they're at, San Jose is just behind, and there's no way around it really anymore. And the only reason people like Matt Mahan and others who typically would be opposed to and more NIMBY-ish about all this stuff are promoting it and supporting it because they are feeling it from their constituents. They're feeling it from their donors and their community members and their people, that this is no longer tolerable, because they don't want to see icky homeless people on the street. And that's pretty much all there is to it. So now they'll do something to try to solve the problem, but it's too late, and they're trying it in all the wrong ways.
And again, the artist rendering, I don't know why the apartment, it's because of the sprawl, right? They have room to make these developments look like a fucking resort, but sure, that's fine because you have the space, but what if you made it denser instead of making it look like a fucking Club Med?
Well, and there's the thing. It's like the concession was, we're going to cut the parks fees, but they have to create plaza and open space in their project, right?
But now you're not in the park. You're in basically 200 people's front yard.
Yeah, but so
I
what?
mean, it's fine. Like, it's nice. It's better than whatever. If you want to sit there and have a sandwich, if it's across the street from where you work and you want to sit under a tree, that's nice and whatever. But now you're not in a public park anymore. Now you've privatized the public parks.
Yes. I have nothing. Producer Dave. You're right, and I agree with you 100%. And yeah, no, this isn't a park. This is everybody in that buildings. This is essentially the fucking front lawn. You could go denser too, and you could go higher even in that area if you wanted to. But then you have all of the neighbors in their single family homes coming out and saying, "Oh, this is going to add more traffic and more hassle into my life, right?" And people are going to be looking down in my yard from a 7 or 8 story building. And what are you going to do about it? And suddenly all that political will goes away, right? And so things have to get scaled down. It's just the vicious cycle that happens all the time.
Maybe building a giant suburb wasn't such a good idea.
Yeah, well, you hit it on the head. That's about what I was about to say. It's just life living in a giant suburb that is now has become a city, has been forced to become a city, and doesn't like it one smanking little bit, right? And is trying to kick and scream and claw its way back to some MAGA kind of Norman Rockwell painting that's never going to exist again, right? And in the meantime, those of us out here who are under 50, right, and don't yes, give a shit about the history, but aren't completely locked into it and realize and understand where we live and where the context we live in now. We're waiting around for shit to happen that's going to benefit us and sustain us long term and sustain the city long term, and we're getting dragged down by all of the fucking boomers who just won't let go. And it's going to keep the city. It's going to hold the city back until they die off. And then by then, are we going to be too old to give a shit either, right? Or are we going to be all cranky and old and be like, man, get off my lawn, don't build that building next to my house? Who knows, right? So we're dealing with a massive generational problem that may not go away even after generations passed, because they're instilling the same vibe and the same values in their kids, the ones who can afford to stay here, right? And if they're the only ones who can afford to stay here, all the multi-generational, native children, what's left, right? And are we ever going to get the kind of city that we deserve? Probably not.
Yeah, it's just really weird because you go any other big city, right? And the nice places to live in a city proper aren't going to be like a lot of single family homes. You're going to be maybe up in the hills or whatever. It's just a different vibe there. And I think it's just a suburb that has something of a downtown, and it just strikes me when I was looking for places in the city or, looking around Oakland or whatever, everything was just dense. Everything's just dense.
Mm-hmm. Yeah,
not
space.
One fucking thought given to parking. Right.
Yeah. Well, and now the city has, canceled out parking requirements. So now there are no parking requirements. But now, right? 2025, not
And that doesn't mean that the NIMBYs aren't going to still bitch that there's no parking.
Well, they always will. That's the thing. It's about political will. It's about not listening to the fucking NIMBYs. It's about letting them come and bitch and moan and recognizing that the majority of people out there are not NIMBYs, but they don't have the time to come to city council and say how great a project is, right? Most people aren't going to come down to the city hall or write a letter to their council members or phone call or confront their city council member at a public meeting with kudos, right? Hey, that was great. That block party you sponsored. Thank you so much for doing that. Hey, that vote on affordable housing the other day. Thank you so much. We really needed that. I really appreciate it. No, the majority of people are calling to bitch or moan or complain and raise a stink. And so they're the ones that show up at city council, right? That's why public comment is dominated by asshats who are there to complain, right? And not to uplift. And so therefore they respond to those folks because they're the ones that show up. Right. And they figure, that they're loud. So they're going to, if my political career and future is going to be based on whether or not I please these people and the folks out there in the community who don't, communities that don't vote regularly, that don't get engaged regularly, why should I give a shit about them? Right. Why should I give a shit about the Latino community if the Latino community doesn't vote? Why should I give a shit about young people if young people don't vote regularly? Right. They show up for one election and that's it. Right. Why should I care about you if you don't vote? And as a political person, I think that's a totally valid way of looking at it. But this is exactly what it leads to, is this kind of stagnation. And it's happening here. It's happening in Sacramento even, where you've got Democratic supermajorities in both houses and a Democratic governor. And yet we're still seeing cutbacks and pullbacks and conservative policies implemented because our people are just scared and too frightened about losing their next election to really represent the people writ large. So yeah, it's a sad state of affairs, but that's local politics. If you're an avid watcher, listener of Downballot, you know this to be true.
Well, we're going to move on to our next story. This is more about San Jose. Mayor Ed 209 apparently has there's a police division now being proposed or being put together specifically to go arrest homeless people.
Yeah, we'll learn more about it from NBC Bay Area, but this is following up on the mayor's proposal we heard about a couple months ago.
Repeatedly refuse shelter and help or risk arrest. Tonight, we're learning more about San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan's controversial plan to arrest people living on the streets. There is a growing push among homeless rights advocates to derail that plan, even though the mayor insists it is for the greater good of everyone, including the homeless. Here's NBC Bay Area.
But we know what's good for them.
We do not support arresting, detaining, or forcibly relocating our unhoused neighbors, whether or not they choose shelter.
Dozens gathered in front of City Hall today to speak out against San Jose Mayor Matt Mahan's responsibility to shelter proposal, a plan that calls for those who repeatedly refuse shelter to be detained, arrested, or hospitalized. The San Jose Police Department would be
hospitalized.
Enforcement.
Do they need health care?
Mental health treatment, drug treatment. That's the assumption.
Oh, it's one flew over the cuckoo's nest.
Correct.
Okay.
A newly created quality of life unit comprised of 1 sergeant and 6 officers. The proposal calls for bringing some of those detained to the Mission Street Recovery Station instead of jail. Today, dozens of activists with Sacred Heart Community Service voiced their worry that the plan unfairly criminalizes the unhoused.
I used to work for the largest shelter in this county and saw people coming off the floor, and they have lots of good reasons to not want to sometimes come in because of the way that they're treated by these institutions. So the fact that we're going to expend any resources on criminalizing people is ridiculous and a waste of time and resources.
The mayor says the city is adding 1,400 shelter beds this year and says the
all in the same room.
Of street encampments cannot continue to be an option.
When someone's refusing to come indoors, there's a sign that there's a deeper issue, a deeper need, and we have a responsibility to intervene, get people into treatment, create some accountability for confronting.
Like when parents smack their kids and say this is going to hurt me more than it hurts you, shut the fuck up.
There you go. There you go.
For the good of that individual and the broader community.
The mayor also believes his plan will save the city money by reducing the cost of cleaning up encampments. But homeless advocates say the city needs to focus on providing more permanent housing solutions, not issuing citations. City Council is expected to make a budget decision on the policy in June. In San Jose, Marianne Favreau, NBC Bay Area News.
Who is that June decision before or after the D3 election?
Before. So it'll be June 10th, I think, is when they consider the final budget. And this is the only reason it's getting into the budget discussion is this conversation around police resources and creating a unit, right? Otherwise, this is a policy decision. This is not a budgetary decision. The mayor is inserting it into the budget process because he knows he has a majority already behind him on his budget message and this policy. So he's trying to ram it through and get it approved through the budget process rather than going through a public policy process, which is a little more drawn out and offers more opportunity for the community to organize and frankly, for more people to understand and know, the public to know what this actually means, right, and what this is all about, because it's being framed in this very gross and again disgustingly cynical kind of way about, like you said, we know better what you need than you do. We, me, Mayor Mahan, who's got no mental health or health care or any kind of, criminal justice or even public safety background, none. And most of the council, none, right? Most council members have never served in public safety. They've never worked in mental health or health care or the nonprofit sector. So they do not understand this issue at all, and they certainly don't understand the people that it's going to impact, because all they've done is performatively go out and paint benches and clean up underpasses, and they don't fully engage with people. They have no idea what these people are going through, and especially Mayor Mahan, who's maybe have come from humble beginnings with his teacher parents, but that was when he had teacher parents, they could buy a house. He's also made millions from his entrepreneurship and his tech buyouts, so he's doing just fine. So he can say that we need to. These people need help. Obviously, if you're on the street, you obviously have problems. That's what he's saying. If you're on the street and you're refusing
problem number one is that you're on the street.
Right. If you're refusing housing, then you're obviously either crazy or on drugs. That's basically what he's saying. And that's just not the case. And to say all that,
and a lot of the time, if it is the case that, and we try to, I know what you're saying here, but if your behavior appears to be crazy, it's oftentimes a result of the stress of being on the street.
Yes, and yes, are there some people? There is a very small percentage of folks who have either acquired mental health issues because they've been on the street or had them before, and have either had drug issues before or developed them on the street. And yes, there is a very challenging population that is going to be tough to reach and tough to provide any services to, no matter what you're offering them. The fact of the matter is, what we're offering to folks who will take it is not sufficient, and that's why they're not taking it. And we just don't have the units, period. Like, you can't say that we're going to do this and spend all this money to arrest people or to force them into drug court or to drug treatment or whatever you think is best for them, and spend all this police overtime and all these resources. You can't do that if you don't actually have the housing already built and ready to go to offer people, right, to go to. Even if it's a bed in a shelter, we don't have those number of beds. And the 1,400 beds that the mayor is talking about creating this year, which may happen, which may come online in the form of tiny homes and shelter beds and sanctioned encampments, or safe sleeping sites, safe RV parking sites, all these things count towards that number. That may all happen, and even that is not sufficient, as the data has shown, to meet the need of people who are on this. Well, it doesn't. That's what I'm saying. It doesn't cover the people that are on the street right now, and it certainly doesn't do anything about the people that are going to be on the street once you house all these people, right? Because the churn just keeps coming back because they have no place that they can afford to live. So they're going to be forced back on the street. And lo and behold, we're spending less money, according to the mayor's policy, on preventative services, on building more affordable housing, not just camps, right? Not just sanctioned camps or shelters that we still have to maintain and operate. So we're creating a bigger problem, and the solution that we're slapping on the problem is just going to make it worse. And on top of that, you're blaming basically the people that we've screwed into living on the street by criminalizing them and giving them a record. Like, I don't understand how this makes any sense to anyone except for these sort of MAGA light assholes who just, think a clean city means, no one living in creek beds. And that's not really what clean, that's not what a healthy city is. It's not what a vibrant city is. It's a city where we all come together and help each other meet basic needs. And that's just not happening in this space at all. And the protesters are right to protest because this is bullshit. And
all the while, there's just for lease signs everywhere where small and medium-sized tech businesses used to be in that space between North First and 880, where there just used to be and there's just so many for lease signs there, and nobody's even fucking talking about turning that shit into studio apartments for the fucking homeless, because the fucking people that own it are waiting for a smaller, medium-sized business to come in there and pay them rent, but that's not going to happen. That shit's going to sit there empty, and we're going to end up in a situation where some of those buildings start to fall apart and shit.
Well, they'll be fine with it. And they're not waiting just for that. They're waiting for the market to turn around so that they can redevelop those properties into what the city will allow them to do, which is like big corporate campuses or big condo complexes like the one in the last story, right? They're waiting for that because that's what their property is zoned for, right? Not to be converted or adapted or reused at a cheaper rate, to actually house people. It's just to make more money, and that's and they'll sit on the property taxes as long as it's corporate property taxes. So they're getting a break, a steal on it. So they'll just sit on that until it makes sense to build, and then they'll make shit tons of money, and we'll still and the problem will just get worse. Unless that shit doesn't turn around the way that they're expecting it to. Unless it doesn't, and then we're really fucked, and then we're really left with we're really screwed. It'll be too late, right?
Right. The buildings won't be
shit creek.
I'm just saying, man, I don't live in fancy digs or whatever, and I think that anybody living on the street, if they're like a single individual, if you're like, hey, we got a small studio, you got a kitchen, you got a bathroom, you got a fairly secure building where you can lock the door, come with me. They're coming with you.
Yeah. Oh, that's. I'm sorry, I didn't mention the other thing. There's a waiting list. So for the actual the housing that we do have, there's actually a waiting list already, that's a mile long.
So where the fuck are you supposed to wait?
Right, exactly. In jail, apparently. Or in the back of a police car, on the back of a police cruiser, right? It's warm. They've got heat. Maybe they'll give them a sandwich. They'll get 3 squares a day, right? In jail or at the cuckoo's nest. So, it's a complete sham. It's complete bullshit, and it's all wrapped. You're right. It's all wrapped in this compassionate, this is going to hurt me more than hurts you. I know best. Father knows best. And
it's a strong father. It's a version of strong father morality, except it's Matt Mahan.
It's really disgusting because the dude went to the same high school I did, where the motto is building men for others. Building men for community, building men that look out for other people, right? It's an all-guys club.
It's like in the sort of the Jesuit tradition of the Catholic Church.
Correct. It is it absolutely is the Jesuit tradition, and the Jesuit tradition is all about that. It's about social justice. It's about lifting up your fellow people and the least among us, because that's what Jesus did. Holy shit, right? So this coming from him. It's pretty good. It's a little long in some places, and a little, the language is a little flowery, but I
didn't like when the cops killed him, but I mean, it's a timeless story.
Yeah, it's Italians that killed him. I'm sorry about that, my people. But with his own people, giving him up anyway. So yes, it would be great to see our government be more Christ-like. If it's really about helping people and being humane, this is not that. So, but hey,
I just don't understand why these spaces that are empty
money
in that between South First and 880 aren't it would be as far as cost effective. The building's already there, the plumbing's already there, the electricity's already there. Some of them buildings got fiber. Everything's there. There's room for people to park. There's transit access because of the North First corridor. Everything is there. And even for the people in Willow Glen, it's out of the way of the fucking people in Willow Glen.
City don't own them. City don't own the land. That's all there is to it. And so as long as we've got all this land owned by corporate barons, then they don't give a shit. They don't give a shit about the people living in Columbus Park. They don't give a shit about that. Why should they? they're not going to make a profit doing that, converting their building to house people. They're not going to make a profit. They're not going to make any money doing that. They could figure out a way to do it, but they're not going to. It's too much. It's too much work. It's too much work.
I guess, they'd rather wait.
They'd rather wait for the easy paycheck.
It took a couple generations for south of Market, Soma, and like the Mission in the city to go from that was a lot of like fish canning and other kinds of industry were there. It took a long time for those buildings to be changed into a lot of nightclubs and housing. It took a couple generations actually. So
private property ownership, it's just, it is what it is, right? There's only so much I could do. Like as a planning commissioner, when I served as a planning commissioner, there's only so much I could do. I can't say like, no, you can't build that here when it's their land and they met all the qualifications to do whatever they wanted to do and all the legal, loopholes they've jumped through, all the legal holes they've jumped through. So if we said no, they could just sue the city and say it's our land and we did all the things and we're allowed to build this. So there's almost you have almost no power unless those landowners come to you or you've got the land yourself. And there's not a lot of public land left that we can build on, unfortunately.
And there aren't because of the property value of that stuff. There aren't like nonprofits or anybody that's just big enough to just start doing this, right? There's just
no. It fits and starts, right? It happens. Like there are plenty of nonprofit affordable housing developments happening, but it's not. It's like a drop in the bucket in the greater scheme of things, and it takes like so long. It takes it just takes so long just to get those projects off the ground, like a couple hundred units here and there, right? 90 units, 150 units. It just takes a gargantuan lift with the financing and everything else to get it done because you're not going to make as much of a profit, right? And so it's hard to get
anybody
investors.
off. I wonder if they're letting anybody squatting in those empties. I don't want
Who
to put
knows?
anybody off, but
who knows? I mean, everyone can go check it out. They probably have security.
I'm not going to go around looking for squatters because they're not going to know that I'm just there to check it out. You know what I'm saying?
Those companies are probably paying for
have every reason to be afraid of a normie coming into their space if they're squatting in some warehouse that nobody sees in.
Sure.
So,
well, they're. I mean, the security probably. That's one thing they're doing is securing them, and they have security cameras and guards and rent-a-cops that they'll police the sites, and they keep an eye on them for sure, because they just don't. They eventually, maybe if they do want to show it off, they don't want to have the blight. So, it's a sad cycle. But we've got to move on. And if you really want to solve the homelessness crisis, who needs public dollars when you can leverage the private sector?
Oh, God. Of course. Here's Mayor Ed 210.
San Francisco's mayor is calling for private help to fix a very public problem. He's asking for donors to fund his effort to reduce homelessness. He says $35 million in donations has already come in. Here's NBC's.
Dang.
Today, I am proud to launch the Breaking the Cycle Fund.
That's Mayor Daniel Lurie announcing a new fund that aims to make a difference in tackling some of San Francisco's most challenging issues.
In order for San Francisco to recover, we must tackle the homelessness and behavioral health crisis we face alongside the historic budget deficit we inherited.
The fund is the keystone of a public-private partnership that aims to raise private money to help increase interim and treatment beds, get unhoused residents on the path to getting off the streets.
Those are cute, but they're only one story.
The mayor says the decision to declare a state of emergency in the city's fentanyl crisis helped open the door to this new idea.
With 2 people dying from overdose every day in San Francisco, there's consensus on both sides of City Hall that we must treat this crisis like the emergency that it is.
Mayor Lurie says private donors have now committed $37.5 million to the program.
Shit.
5 visionary partners, the Charles and Helen Schwab Foundation, Crankstart.
Those are some of the names.
Crankstart is a bad name if you're trying to get people off drugs.
That's the organization Lurie founded in 2005. Today,
get people on drugs.
His message is clear. It's time to find new ways to solve old problems.
We don't just need more beds, we need different beds. This announcement today is
Tempur-Pedic beds.
And it's a step in the right direction.
Money's always welcome, so that's great news.
We spoke with the Coalition on Homelessness, who says they welcome the fund and have been highlighting additional needs.
Permanent housing, permanent solutions. So we need more subsidies.
In San Francisco, Christy Smith, NBC Bay Area News.
They just showed that room that's like housing. That room is like, there was like a bed and then 3 feet on either side of the bed.
Yeah, it's a tiny home, or it's a
prison cell.
Yeah, well, no, that's exactly what I was referencing earlier. Like, it looks like the gulag. Like, it really. There's some sites like this in San Jose where you drive past and you're like, is that some sort of work prison farm kind of thing? Like, because there's gates, barbed wire, like security lights, and it's a bunch of just shacks, like, or shipping containers, basically, that look like barracks.
Oh my God! You could build if everybody got a shipping container and you stack them, and you could build the coolest fucking. But the problem is, then you'd build something cool, and then you rent those out for $2,500 a month.
Well, they have, exactly. They have, and they've done these for those kind of projects have happened in other cities, absolutely. And modular housing has happened, and even cool, artistic, geometric MC Escher kind of shit has happened in other cities. And in San Francisco, I just saw recently like a place just like you were talking about. Like, they took that concept and then applied it to like $1 million condos, right? And so it's this, like, it looks like a stackable, affordable housing complex. But really, it's fancy ass.
Fuck yeah! You run a fiber line to my fucking shipping container as long as there's some insulation and fake hardwood and a fucking fancy looking stove that'll break in 3 years. Hook me up.
Yeah, no, but most of what you get are these single storage sort of barrack style, prison style, per work farm kind of style.
There was in that
places.
room they showed there was nowhere to cook.
Well, yeah, no, absolutely. There's, families aren't going to be moving into that. If you have a pet, a dog, right, with you, a service animal especially, but just any kind of pet, you're probably not going to have them, or they might even be allowed in these sites, depending on who the operator is, right? So there is a shit ton of reasons why people, quote unquote, refuse housing or don't want to go to the place that you are forcing them to go, right? Like, in some cases, like, they've figured out, well, this is the safest place for me. This camp, where I'm at now, is the safest, most feasible place for me to be right now. And I've checked out all the options, and nothing is suiting my needs right now, and especially not anything I can afford, right? And that's what you've got out there if you want to talk about the folks that are housing resistant or whatever they call them. That's what it is. It's like, we're not offering them the options they need or want, and we wouldn't accept, right? That's the thing. It's like, would Mayor Ed 210, would Mayor Ed 209 accept?
He wouldn't even stay in there. He wouldn't even, if that was an Airbnb where he was going to a conference and it was like the only thing available, he'd cancel the conference. He'd cancel his appearance at the conference instead of staying there one night. That thing we looked at. Like, I'm sorry. Of course. Listen, I understand that we live in a capitalist society. It's like a winner take all society or whatever. But like other countries, they don't, this isn't it. Like other capitalist countries, I'm just thinking of Northern Europe specifically. They don't have a lot of homeless people. And I'm sure those people who are living in government subsidized housing, they're not living in the lap of luxury, but they're not living in a place where they can touch one wall and touch the other wall. Yeah. Like if they're 6 feet tall or taller, like this is that thing they showed. I mean, fuck you. Yeah. You go there. What if you have anxiety? What if you have anxiety from living on the street, and then they put you in this fucking 8x12 box? If it's even 8x12, and now you live in this fucking 8x12 box where at any time somebody can come in and fucking search your 8x12 box, and you got to be in by 9 o'clock. And if you're there at 9:05, the fucking person there like hassles you, and you got to prove that you live there. Like, what the fuck?
Yeah, I've seen motel bathrooms that in Paris that are bigger than those apartments, right? You're absolutely right. And we just can't expect folks to take what isn't there, right? And to take space that we wouldn't live in ourselves. And I guarantee that Red 209 is not going to crash out in that spot. Man, even I wouldn't. Like, when I was running for office, one of the advocates said, "Hey, do you want to come spend a night in a camp? Meet some people and experience what it's like." And I'm like, I could do that. I could absolutely go down there and spend a night in the camp and meet people. I'd love to meet people. I love people just generally. So I would enjoy it, but there's no way I'm ever going to understand unless that's what I'm living, right? Like, I'm always going to be able to go home. I always in the back of my mind will know I can just go home, right? If shit gets too gnarly, if it gets too cold, whatever, I can always go home.
And the people there might resent you. They can't.
Yeah, completely. They can. And it would be insulting to me, to them, right? For me to an insult to them and a slap in their face for me to do that kind of performative
go
bullshit.
Play camp
right?
out in their home.
Right. Like, it's just like, it's the same as Ed 209 with his short sleeves and his slacks going out to shovel dirt, right? It's like, it's total performative bullshit. So I would never do something like that. We've got to, but you're right. In in these societies, what they've realized, producer Dave, is that the rising tide does lift all boats. How we treat even in a capitalist society, how we treat the least among us is indicative of where our culture and our society is going to go. And we could do so much better for our economy and all the things, right? And if we are supporting people and getting them integrated back into our economy, right? Instead of just living on the street and not helping anyone, including themselves, right? If we can find ways to support them and give them the support they need to really be a functioning, members of our community, then it benefits us immensely as a capitalist society. Like, there will be more people spending money on goods and services, more people paying taxes and allowing government to function. Like, everything would be better if folks simply had their basic needs like healthcare and childcare and housing met, in some way by the largesse of our society, the largesse we've created. And it should be a kind of reciprocal relationship, because billionaires make their money on the backs of all of us and all these people, all these folks out there. So only because, like Elizabeth Warren said, only because we're out there to build your roads and your infrastructure and clean your toilets, are you able to make billions of dollars and buy all your shit by the way, are you able to make billions of dollars? So yes, you do owe us back. You do owe us those fees. You do owe us the parks fees and the library fees and the housing impact fees, and you owe us more opportunity for everyone to thrive, because we'll all just contribute back into your shit. We'll all be consumers, right? So I think that's what other countries have figured out, and we just haven't. And I don't know if it's the American exceptionalism thing or manifest destiny, and we just feel entitled, like the people that have the money are entitled to just keep it. But that's just how we are.
Yep. Well, we got the next story. San Francisco is apparently sinking. Do you remember when people thought an earthquake was going to happen and California was just going to break off of the country? I wonder if this is a version of that, or if this is real.
Maybe the Millennium Tower is not to blame specifically. Maybe it's just the whole fucking city is sinking, and they're just indicative, like the canary in the coal mine. Anyway, we're going to find out more from Fox News Bay Area.
San Francisco is among the major cities in the U.S. that's sinking. A study from Columbia University reports 28 of the most populated cities in America are sinking. San Francisco, along with Las Vegas and Washington, D.C., are cities that have so-called fast sinking zones. Nearly half the city of Houston is dropping 1/5 of an inch every year, and as much as 2 inches per year in some places. While other locations are affected by pumping groundwater, San Francisco is impacted by the compaction of filled-in land at such spots as Treasure Island and SFO. A significant threat to the health of all bodies of water in the state was found during a boat inspection at Folsom Lake.
Oh, this is one of those longer term. This is one of those longer clips.
So,
sneaky.
1 or 2 inches a year doesn't sound like a lot, but like, think of the pipes and like any of the underground infrastructure. Is like, if there's one place where it's sinking and another place where it isn't, you're so fucked.
Yeah, I mean, the Millennium Tower whole thing was like it was a few inches, right, every year, and it's causing massive problems in that place. Like, not to mention, like, if you're in a high rise, like 2 inches on one side or the other, right, and suddenly you've got a slope in your apartment, right? And yeah, the pipes, the infrastructure, the foundations, all of that makes perfect sense in San Francisco. There is so much of San Francisco that is built on landfill. So much of it, whole districts are built on it. I think it's like a third of the city is built on landfill.
No, remember the 89 earthquake, the reason the fucking marina got hit so hard by the earthquake wasn't because the earthquake was stronger there. It's because it was all on landfill, and the fucking landfill, I don't know the exact mechanism.
It liquefied, basically, like I don't know what the word is, but it basically liquefies.
It acts more like when it starts shaking, it acts more like a liquid than like a rock would.
Correct. And so they've done more probably in like earthquake preparedness, but there's nothing you can do to prevent like just the straight up sinking of that. Like you've manufactured land, right? We think we're God sometimes, like we figured it all out and we can master the universe and nature, but we can't at all. We have no idea how a lot of this works, and there's no way we can replicate it. So yeah, this stands to reason that this is happening, especially in big cities, right? I'm guessing Bismarck, North Dakota is not sinking at the same rate as San Francisco or Chicago.
Like, Vegas is sinking, but I guess it's just they got rid of all the groundwater. I'm like, but where's it going to sink to?
Right. And it's also sandstone too. It's not like permanent. Like none of this is permanent. Granite is not permanent. Look at Yosemite, right? Like we forget that. because it's just hard to see this kind of change and evolution over time, right? It's hard to watch. You're not going to watch a cave get formed or the continents shift, right? When not in our lifetime, certainly not. So it's just we forget how little we know and how little we can control about our environment in the world we live in. So this is just another reminder. So we might have bigger problems basically than people living on the streets. They may be living underwater soon. So even better.
Speaking of things falling into a sinkhole, I would very much like it if Charlie Kirk fell into a sinkhole. He went to San Francisco State University for the post game, not 2 days ago Sunday, but Sunday before. The Media Wench actually watched his version, his whole cut of the
whole
event.
thing. Yeah, the 16-minute or whatever. Yeah.
So before we get this started, there good work done by local activists. They were able to spot some of the people that were in the crowd there, who were supposedly kind of cosplaying as SF State students to support Charlie Kirk. Well, what he does, and I mean, it's a I guess it's a smart thing. It's deceptive. He'll go to he'll hit a region, right? He'll hit Northern California. And so he'll send out information essentially to all the young people in the region. And so if he goes to SF State, he'll have a bunch of people there who ostensibly look like they could be SF State students, but they haven't driven there from Seattle, but they might have driven there from Tracy, from Santa Cruz, from Monterey, sure. San Jose. And so they're all showing up at all these events in this region to kind of to be like boosters for Charlie. And shout out to the local activists who showed essentially that these same people were at other regional.
The same folks.
Yeah, a lot of the same folks were at the regional events.
Yeah, I feel like this guy in the Metallica shirt, he'd be pretty recognizable, and his friend, in another event, if they were to pop up in pictures from Tracy, from Tracy or Sacramento, an event down there or something, right? They stand out.
So I wonder how the local news is going to cover this. Let's see. They called him a MAGA influencer, and I'm not sure that's quite accurate.
Yeah, this was the only shorter clip I could find of the news covering it, other than his. And then of course there was the video that Media Wench obviously watched the other night that I did not have the patience to sit through anyway, and I didn't want to put you through it here in Downballot.
No, that's my jam. But usually when the lights are red and I'm drinking.
Yeah, it's a little more of that. So anyway, let's find out more from ABC7.
It was MAGA mania at San Francisco State University Tuesday. Conservative influencer Charlie Kirk drawing hundreds of all ages for his college campus tour, where he's asking people to debate him.
He's trying to rile up people that disagree with him, and obviously it's going to work.
The goal is to agree to disagree, but also have common ground.
Students divided on his presence.
A lot of people have a misconception of conservative groups, and I talked to so many volunteers here. A lot of people are eager to have that conversation, whether you're a Democrat, Republican, Independent.
He's literally just a rage baiter that debates people. It's infuriating for sure, but I don't want to give them the attention that they want.
The MAGA activist was joined by Riley Gaines.
What is the question you're asking?
A former swimmer who has been a leading voice against transgender athletes playing in women's sports.
Are there open mics for conservatives to speak at San Francisco State?
Both engaged in fiery exchanges with students who dared to discuss hot political topics like immigration, abortion, and the state of the country.
Why do you think we're more divided, Charlie? Oh, I think we're more divided because we finally exposed the left for what they are.
About an hour in, a counter-protest nearby also drew hundreds. With an impromptu screamo concert and others trying to distract from Kirk.
You're wasting your time!
While controversial, he is influential, boasting millions of followers on his social media accounts. Kirk's hot takes landing him on the inaugural episode of Governor Gavin Newsom's podcast earlier this year. In San Francisco, Monica Madden, ABC 7 News.
So this is a thing that we talk about a lot, kind of. We watch a lot of these sort of where people go to colleges to debate people. And what always occurs to me is they go there and they look for 19-year-olds to debate. Now, that's fine. That's who's at a college. But Charlie Kirk, I don't know. He's in his 30s, dude. And no shade at the young people, but your brain isn't even done developing until you're 25. And it seems to me there's a couple things. One, he's looking for these young people. That's just fine. You can have disagreements with young people. You can talk to them. but also he's had time to prepare, and he shows up at these places, and the people who agree with him know he's going to be there, and he sort of announces it. But the people, like the regular students who show up there and kind of hear the dumb shit he's saying, they haven't had any time to prepare. They are not media trained. They don't talk for a living. And they're like on their way from getting a cup of coffee, maybe back to their dorm room or, you know, whatever. And they'd go talk to him. And, you know, this is just like not a very fair playing field. You don't see a lot of Charlie Kirk talking to people who he knows are going to have vehement disagreements with him, who have had time to prepare and who have media training. You know, I watched some of that, him with Gavin Newsom has media training and time to prepare, but he just rolled over for Charlie Kirk, which was, you know, I don't know what that was about. The last time I saw him speak to somebody, like where the person had equal time, had their own mic that the security didn't control, and you know, they had their own mic and the security didn't control it at more or less equal time at an event. It was a long time ago at Politicon. He talked to Sam Cedar of the Majority Report, and he kind of got his ass handed to him. And this strategy it looks good. It makes for good sound clips, right? You're like, oh, look at this, look at these liberals or whatever. And it's like, well, this person was on their way from English 1A to like the coffee shop and got in line and spoke to you in an audience that you've filled with your supporters from not from across the country, but from the region. And it's such a dumb thing. It's such a dumb thing. Why isn't he like, hey, you know, are there anybody up, you know, where let's get a hall. I'd like to speak to a sociology professor. Oh, nope, not going to do that. No, sir.
No, just debate me. You at the Starbucks, you debate me.
You walking across the quad, you debate me.
Put down the Frappuccino.
So this, like, again, like, this isn't like what I would think of as a debate, right? This is a spectacle.
Yeah, it's performative. It's just bullshit. But you know, it gets him more likes, and it pleases the MAGA echo chamber. So yeah, you know, why not just keep doing it?
Not for nothing. Every once in a while, one of these young people's pretty impressive. I remember, and I don't want to spend too much time. It was at somewhere else in the western part of the country. I want to say it was like at UCLA or USC, where the person said, hey, you know, what do you think of Elon doing a Nazi salute? And Charlie's like, that wasn't a Nazi salute. And the young man just says, good, then you do it right now. Do exactly what Elon did. You do it right now.
Right.
And
yeah,
and Charlie got mad and started yelling. It was great.
Of course.
It was great because, you know, like I said, you're young doesn't mean you're stupid. And that maybe that person knew Charlie was coming, and he's like, this will be fun. Because
some people are just prepared and they are ready to go.
For that student, one, you know, Charlie didn't really do it, but the flip side of it is you could have been the guy that caused this guy to do a seagull that would have been all over the fucking news. But again, like, you know, you get these people there, they're mad that you're there. They're young people. You're going into their space where you have fucking no business there. You haven't like rented a hall. You know what I'm saying? You haven't done any, like, you can have an event at these spaces. You get a, like, and I don't know. I mean, like, and then like if he pisses off one of the students, then everybody's like, oh, you're triggered. I'm like, fool, that girl's 18. She,
right.
Like, this is her first, you know, these are like first year college students. They might have moved like their first time away from their families. Like, this is like a time in people's lives where they're like in a period of adjustment.
A win is a win. A win is a win. He'll take anyone he can get. And he knows his audience. He knows who he can beat and who he can't. So he sets up his audiences for himself. And, you know, it's just more of the echo chamber, more of the silo, more just the snake eating its own tail. Just
I don't talk to chat much in this. We got Mail Rights USA in the chat. Charlie goes to college campuses and speaks to whoever wants. Charlie goes to college campuses, dude. These are people who are like, he's going there to talk to undergrads.
Yeah.
Like, I don't want to spend a lot of time on this, and I don't really argue with chat. I don't argue with chat usually, but if he should go speak to people who are media trained, who have their own microphone,
or have
security isn't controlling,
or go to colleges and you know and have a fair, you know, conversation where, you know, you're prepared and you invite like the
Charlie,
whatever
play with kids your own age, Charlie.
You invite the socialist student organization, right, to come and debate you. And I guarantee you, if they were prepared and they showed up and there was an event like a you know, main event, they would actually absolutely should have prepared, and they'd be like the kids you've seen before who've called him on his bullshit. Absolutely, but he doesn't want that, and he wants to be able to control the environment, and he doesn't want it controlled in a way that that puts him in any position where he might be called out, where he might be told that he's full of shit, where he might be embarrassed, where he might be beaten.
Or it has to be such that if somebody does tell him that he's full of shit, he can clip it in a way that makes them seem unhinged or whatever.
He's not alone. And he's not alone in that at all. Like
I think that there's value in the students talking to each other, the conservative students talking to the more liberal students or whatever. Like, but Charlie isn't a student. Like, he doesn't go, like, his goal there isn't open conversation. That's the thing. And that's fine. Like, he has every right to do this, I suppose. I just think if he's going to go to San Francisco and do this, he should go to Castro and do it. There's grown ass people there.
Sure. But he's not alone. Like, this is entirely what MAGA does. Is all of them are exactly like this. We're just creating their own controlled environment and to make them look good to their people. They don't give a shit if we care or if we're converted. He doesn't want to convert us. He doesn't have to. He just wants to fire up the base, and this is how you own the libs.
He should come to the town and do it at Lake Merritt.
Sure, but he won't.
It's going to be grown. That's because grown folks are going to be there.
Yeah, and he's not. It's not going to be as beneficial to him. So he's in a position where he can. If Gavin's going to invite him on his podcast, he can pick and choose where Charlie Kirk can pick and choose where he wants to go, and the situations he wants to set up. So just like all of them, but it's what we're having with the lovely world we've built for ourselves here.
We're going to move back down south to San Jose, and apparently a fire captain was charged with stealing drugs. That's great. You know,
from like the evidence locker, basically.
It's fantastic.
Let's learn more about that.
Fire Captain Mark Mullum faces prison time after allegedly stealing narcotic painkillers and sedatives from the San Jose Fire Department. Currently off on leave amid the investigation, Mullum appeared in court Monday. He's charged with felony burglary and misdemeanor counts of possessing and being under the influence of a controlled substance.
Firefighters and police officers and are people that we rely on to help us when we're in danger, when we're in trouble. And sadly, this is a firefighter whose actions endangered many people in our community.
These charges from District Attorney Jeff Rosen stem from an April arrest in which investigators say the 23-year-old SJPD veteran tampered with and stole vials of morphine and midazolam from
Oh, nope, don't let him go.
Mullum was assigned to Station 7. He was also seen off duty at Station 29 near the narcotics lockbox. A department audit found more than 400 vials had been tampered with at 16 separate stations. Police found needles, SJPD vial caps of morphine and midazolam, and other drugs at Mullum's home. He is said to have removed and replaced the drugs with other substances, rendering them ineffective to patients who needed them.
This is incredibly dangerous conduct.
Oh, no, don't let him go.
That the firefighter engaged in. It put people's lives at risk. It absolutely did that.
This is not Mullum's first run-in with the law on drug-related issues. In 2013, he faced drug charges and received a deferred judgment, the department said. His latest arrest led to his EMT license being suspended. San Jose Fire Chief Robert Sapian Jr. said in a previous statement, "I, along with the entire San Jose Fire Department, am beyond disappointed in the actions and crimes alleged thus far, as they are antithetical to the mission and values of the department."
Mullum did not comment after court, but he will be back for a plea hearing on August 27th at 9 a.m. In San Jose, Dustin Dorsey, ABC 7 News.
So this wasn't like that he fucking stole evidence or whatever. This was they're calling this drugs. I think that the better would have been like he stole medicine.
Correct. Yeah. So from EMTs and fire and first responder kind of rescue. I
mean, I know they're drugs, basically. But like when we think of drugs, we think of like illegal. We think of like heroin or cocaine, or you know what I'm saying? Just the way that we use the word drugs. He didn't do that. He replaced like medicine that was going to be used on people who were having a medical emergency. He replaced it with something else.
Yes, and fed his own addiction, or possibly sold it on too as well, and made who knows the depths of what happened. It's not surprising at all, but just incredibly frustrating that like this is a guy who was on the list already, not like from another department or he did something in another city and it didn't really make, it wasn't really known here. It didn't come up in his hiring here. But no. While he was a San Jose fire fighter, he had another issue like this, right? And so somehow he has access to all this stuff now, like whatever, how many years later. How was that resolved? Did he have to go through treatment? What went down there? Like, I don't understand how someone with that kind of history is allowed to be near all this stuff anyway. And who's looking the other way? If he's like going to other stations, right, and doing this, right, you're assigned to your station, but as a captain, you have access to other stations. So it's amazing that you moved up in the ranks in the first place after having that issue. But then to be able to have access to all these materials is another problem entirely. So, and one of the stations is in my neighborhood actually. So this guy was working right over here, right nearby.
Yeah, this is
right under our noses.
This is not great. If it would have just been drugs, I'd have been like, whatever.
Yeah, he didn't just pop a kilo out of the evidence locker. No, like this is absolutely the worst case scenario, like the DA said, because these are the folks they're supposed to be helping, and if we're and saving lives and protecting people, and if we can't trust them, who can you trust? If you can't trust firefighters, even, where have we come?
Oh, this next story. Whatever. I saw
it'll be it's just be 40 seconds and it'll be over, and we'll be able to laugh about it on the other side.
You know what? We're not even going to introduce it. Check this out, everybody. I'm sure this was all over the news. I'm sure you heard about this.
The partner of Theranos founder Elizabeth Holmes is raising millions of dollars for a new company that sounds somewhat similar to the venture that landed her behind bars. Billy Evans is the father of Holmes' 2 children. He's now raising money for what he calls the future of diagnostics, a company that would test blood, saliva, or urine for disease biomarkers. That was the premise of Holmes' Silicon Valley blood testing company Theranos. She has raised $700 million for that venture before it was exposed as fraud. She's now serving an 11-year prison sentence. This past week, a federal appeals court rejected a bid by her lawyers to have her conviction appeal reheard.
Like, what the fuck, dude? This guy, with the balls, dude. Everybody's eyes are going to be all over this, and he's not even going to steal money. Henry Kissinger's dead, so he can't even steal money from Henry Kissinger.
So he's not going to get any love from Downballot, is what you're saying?
Yeah.
Oh man, yeah, this is just silly season. Again, it's like, okay, so we're not going to have a closer eye on the firefighter who had a problem with stealing medications and drugs from fire stations previously. Oh, we're going to make them a fire captain, no less, so that they have access to more medications.
Well,
and more drugs.
I'm actually we believe in like redemption and stuff around here. So I'm totally 100%. For if somebody had a little problem with drugs or whatever when they were at work and they've like shown themselves to be recovered and doing exemplary work, they should be eligible for promotion. But like, that's a whole ass different story than this guy. Like his fucking, I don't know if they're married, but the mother of his children,
her partner.
I don't know if they're married. Whatever.
Baby daddy.
His partner is in prison for scamming people with a medical testing device. And he's like, oh, we're going to make a medical testing device. Man, if you're going to run a con, dude, run a different con.
Hey, man, people will buy it. I guarantee. I think we've already found that the attention span's pretty low out there. So, if you have the right pitch, if you have the right timing, the right audience, you never know. If you have Henry Kissinger in the room, you never know how you might be able to sell the ice to the people that manufacture it. So. Yeah, we'll see what comes of this, but I just thought it would be a fun little anecdote because we had covered the trial, and
we'll be covering his trial in 2 years.
So will it be like? Well, I guess Joseph McNamara is gone. Who's the secretary? Oh, Colin Powell has passed on. Will it be Condoleezza Rice that gets scammed in this case, like another Secretary of State?
Ooh, I hope so.
Or Rubio, maybe Rubio gets screwed. That'd be
fucking Santorum. I hope she scams Santorum.
Let's see what happens. But I just envision Elizabeth Holmes like running this whole scam from behind bars, like in Goodfellas, where Paul Sorvino gets like all the food delivered to him to cook, and they're not in jail. They're in this like, penthouse suite, right? Where they get to just have their own little world. I could totally see her like machinating this from inside jail.
They're going to have to restart that show, Orange is the New Black.
Right. Oh, 100%. She is a spitting image for Piper, for the main character. So it might only be a reality show. Anyway, we got to move on. We got a few more clips to hit. We're going to it was moving to get your shit together. We always ask someone or expect someone to have some shit that they need to get together. And right now it looks like BART is trying to get their shit together, but hasn't been able to like actually mold it into something better than shit.
A new study suggests BART's crime prevention strategies are not working as intended. They might also be missing the actual problem that's creating safety concerns.
NBC Bay Area's Valina Jones breaks down the report and what BART is saying about it.
A new study claims changes made by BART to address fare evasion and security are not making the system any better and questions if law enforcement is the right solution.
Fare evasion is not a safety concern.
Things the BART system can do, starting with cleanliness, starting with more ambassadors, starting with more effort to engage people without a punitive response.
Hans Manos leads the group responsible for the 90-page report by the Center for Police Equity. The study was done in partnership with BART and several other organizations. Using BART's own data, the findings show the majority of arrests on the system weren't for fare evasion at all, but for warrants and substance abuse.
People aren't necessarily experiencing violent crime because of fare evasion, which is a connection that BART has made. And that's something that...
Oh, shit. That's what I said. Yeah, fare evasion does not make your system unsafe. It just means the seats are full.
Adds BART PD frequently encounters around 250 of the same people. The study suggests instead of investing more money in law enforcement and fare evasion, the system should focus on other solutions.
So folks who are known to police because perhaps they're mentally ill or they're addicted, is there a better way than continuing to offer them, a punitive response, a police response, as opposed to a social service response?
But BART says the system is making improvements in all areas. They note the system is conducting wellness checks and expanding its ambassadors, crisis intervention specialists, and social service partnerships. BART says leadership needs more time to weigh in on the findings. In a statement, BART says they have no plans to change current efforts to replace fare gates or enforce their code of conduct, which includes a visible safety presence. They credit those strategies for a 17% drop in crime last year.
And right now, it's unclear what the strategy is or how these different tools are being used to improve ridership, to improve the experience of a rider, and to reduce fare evasion.
In Oakland, Valina Jones, NBC Bay Area News.
So they said a 17% drop in crime. Was there a subsequent 17% drop in crime maybe in the cities that BART exists in? Because I don't think people are like, oh, I'm going to do a crime, time to get on the train.
Sure. I mean, this could just be statistical, changes that they can say that BART is implying perhaps have causation to what they're doing, but more than likely it's just correlation. Like they're implementing these whatever fare recovery tactics at the same time that the crimes go down. So it's almost like they were looking for a problem to blame or scapegoat to blame. They blame the fares as a means of, and they blame fares on causing more crime as a way of getting these new measures approved, right? And getting funding to build new infrastructure to preserve the fares, right? When really it's just about making money for the system and making sure the system is more profitable and or not profitable, just making more money, and then using crime as the impetus to get the public will to do it, right? Oh, you're building these tougher gates to get through, and it's more of a pain in the ass for me to use my Clipper card and get into BART, and I miss my train and whatever, right? Oh, but you're stopping the crimes, so therefore, it's all good. So that seems like what this is about more than anything else. And
Chat's talking about old timey train robbery now.
Right? Hey, you! Hey, copper. Yeah, no, that's not what's happening. Like the crime that's happening is, assaults and other kind of petty crimes and property crimes, but not like the train's not getting hijacked anytime soon. So, I agree with the Center for Equity. I don't believe that there's a causation there at all. It's just a correlation. And
I think if you evaded the fare, it's in your interest to lay low.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, and frankly, when we talk about fare evasion, what is that exactly? Like, for example, my Clipper wasn't letting me, I was showing the attendant at BART the other day, my Clipper was not letting me through. I'm like, hey, look, I've got money on my account. I'm trying to get out. I tagged on. You can see on the system that I tagged on. It won't let me tag off. And they're like, man, just come through. Here's a sticker. Show it on the way back in, and they'll take care of you, right? So I didn't have to pay a fare for that ride, right? Even though I was willing to and had the money to do it. So what's fare evasion exactly, right?
and not for nothing, like a lot of people that like to complain about transit aren't ever on transit. I've been riding transit basically since I moved back to the Bay Area 15, 16 years ago when I moved to San Jose. I've seen some shit, but I don't think I've been in any situations where I felt like something real bad was going to happen, right? I think that people are sort of, when they get on BART, they're sort of forced to interact with a public that they may not have otherwise interacted with.
Sure. Absolutely.
They're forced to interact. Like nobody ever, none of these people, when they say, oh, there's substance abuse use on BART, nobody's ever bitching about the people leaving a sporting event drunk as shit and fucking acting the fool, or even just on your way home from Pride on BART. Like, oh my God, there's people doing blow and fucking shit. Nobody's ever talking about that.
I've seen it all. I've seen the syringes, and I've been I've seen a lot of folks asked out on BART and doing whatever. But yeah, I've never felt the situation where a thing was just going to just pop off entirely. In fact, like there's some cool moments when guys just start, like, they bust a beat out on their iPhone, they start rapping and giving you a show, right? Like and they pass the hat for contributions, right? So you can actually get a dinner and a show on BART if you want these days, like a leftover hamburger and then some guy's new hip hop single that he wants to drop on you. So yeah,
don't eat the leftover hamburger. Listen, I'm cool with public transit. I'm an advocate for public transit. Don't eat the leftover hamburger on public transit unless you
don't do that. Sorry,
unless it's your last option.
The good wife would fucking kill me for saying that too, because our daughter eats shit off the floor and she blames me. So because I do too.
Your daughter's not riding BART by herself, so
that's true. But yeah, no, you're right. A lot of this is built, a lot of policy, like we saw with the homeless and housing policy, right? A lot of it's built by and constructed by and devised by people who don't have the lived experience and would never, go do the thing anyway, right? They're just told the story and they've got a little bit of data and anecdotal evidence to back it up, and they've formed an opinion based on that. And it's not going to solve anything. They can try, and it might convince a few people who also don't have any concept or any context, but it's not going to last, and it's not going to actually solve the problem. And that's what you're seeing here.
And on the concept of fare evasion, you mentioned Clipper. Clipper sucks. Like there's something wrong, something fundamentally wrong with the system, because the thing that you're talking about, right? I have the Clipper card on my phone, and I recently just got a physical Clipper card that I also keep money on because I can afford the bus fare, but I use my phone, and about half the time on the bus, it just won't tag. And I stopped showing the driver, like, oh, there's cash in here. It's just not going.
Yeah. Drivers give a shit. He's just like,
now because I've been here for a while. It goes a couple times. I look at the driver. The driver inevitably goes, get on.
Yeah, just get on. Like I was using the bus the other night, and a guy who was obviously unhoused, like obviously did not have money, didn't have a Clipper card. He was giving some some sob story to the driver, like, let me ride a few blocks. And the guy just fucking sit down. Jesus Christ. It's 1 a.m. we got to get to the next stop. Like, fuck it. Like, it's another butt in the seat. No, I'm not getting fired because I let you on the bus. And what's the truth. That's what it is. BART, they seem to be a little more hawkish about it when they actually confront you, but I've never been, kicked off of a BART train before or a Caltrain before. They just want butts in seats at the end of the day. They want people using the service.
Or I have another example in San Francisco, like when everybody's leaving during Pride weekend on Saturday night, there's no official party there anymore. But when we go out and it starts to get late, everybody's leaving the Castro to get on Muni. They just close the fucking fair things and open this gate, and everybody just fucking walks through because it's just not worth it. Like they don't want to fucking. Everybody, the people that are working there are just like, fuck this.
Mm-hmm. No, absolutely.
Because there's all these tourists there who don't know how the system works, and they're like, how do I buy a ticket? And then they don't have a Clipper app on their phone and all this. And eventually, at probably 10 or 15 minutes into this fiasco, as people are leaving the Castro, they just open the gate. Like, get on Muni. Get on Muni.
You're blaming it on the wrong people. Like, there's people that commit crimes and people that don't commit crimes, and it's not because they're fare evaders or because they're unhoused or because they're on drugs or whatever. Like, people just commit crimes at clips, regardless of whether they're housed or not, or whether they paid their fares or not, because people commit crimes, right? So let's stop scapegoating specific people when really it's just a pretense for fair recovery, and that's just sad. Anyway, we should roll on down to Downballot so that we can get through our docket here and get you on to public comment.
That is right. We only got one thing on Downballot, Watcher, and it's the ongoing saga of the San Mateo County Sheriff.
Yeah, this is a much ado about nothing story, but that's sort of the point, is that much ado about nothing. And wow, we raced to get that vote done and to give the Board of Supervisors power to remove the sheriff. And that was like 3 months ago. And they're still trying to figure out like how they're going to actually do it. And I think they're kind of realizing that it's a lot bigger pain in the ass than they expected. So we're going to learn about that from ABC7. And laugh.
To San Mateo County, where we're following the story of embattled Sheriff Christina Corpus. Today, the Board of Supervisors approved the next steps in the process to remove her from office. ABC7 News reporter Zach Fuentes was at the supervisors meeting today.
San Mateo County Sheriff Christina Corpus watching from the back of the Board of Supervisors chambers Tuesday while the board considered approving the procedures to remove her.
Today is really establishing the guidelines, the framework for policies and protocols.
All of this coming after an independent report found the sheriff had an inappropriate relationship with an employee and created a culture of intimidation and retaliation within her department. Allegations the sheriff says are not true. Her attorney speaking outside the Board of Supervisors chambers.
To this day, they still will not release to us the Cordell report. We've had to sue to get the report. Who paid for the report? Who asked for the report? Why did they ask for the report? They won't give us an unredacted version of the report.
Voters approved Measure A in March to give the board authority to remove Corpus. On Tuesday, the board approved the procedures to start the process for that removal. First, Corpus will be served with a notice of intent. After that, there would be a pre-removal process, giving Corpus a chance to be heard.
What was previously proposed was to have a representative from the county executive's office, as you can imagine, sort of overseeing this, right? And so what I've asked for is that we have someone outside of the county executive's office.
On Tuesday, the board decided that would be the chief probation officer.
This is the first step to many steps.
Corpus herself did not speak about the issue Tuesday, but her attorney said she's facing an unfair battle.
When you've got board members openly to the press and in that room saying the sheriff should be removed. Can you imagine if you were a criminal defendant and you came out of the holding cell and the judge said you're a miserable human being, you're a liar, and you should be gone? What day would you like me to set your trial? Right. That's what's happening here. And we're not going to let that happen.
Now with the changes to the removal procedures approved, the board has to come to a 4/5 vote to issue the notice of intent to remove Corpus. After that, then hearings could happen. All a process the supervisors say could take several months. In San Mateo County, Zach Fuentes, ABC7 News.
This is fucking, what? They're just like passive. They're like, fuck, man. They're like, nobody wants this. Everybody, it seemed like at the beginning, everybody was like gung ho to remove this lady. And now it seems like nobody wants that stink on them.
Yeah, everyone just wants this to be over in some way and done. And I do appreciate the sheriff standing in the, like, there's plenty of seats available, but like standing in the back of the room, like just to put them on notice, like, I'm watching you. Yeah, it's, again, like you said, like it's almost like a who cares at this point, right? Like I've come pretty much full circle myself. Like I almost want her to stick around and like and to watch them fall all over themselves trying to, remove her in a way that's not going to get them sued, which it is. Let's just face it. This is all going to get them sued at some point. There's a reason why she has attorneys on the case. So whether or not she's removed or not, the county's going to have a big old mess of egg on their face over this.
San Mateo's a rich county. She should be in negotiations to get that bag and get the fuck out of there.
Well, remember they did offer her, a big chunk of money, if I forget, like millions of dollars to go away, like $1.5 million or whatever, $2 million just to go away and to resign.
If I were her, I'd be like, the bag needs 2 digits before the first comma, and I'm out.
I need that Louis Vuitton bag and that tote bag, not that little backpack that the kids wear, like the tote bag.
Yeah, just get that bag, lady. Get that bag and get out of there, because if she didn't do any of this stuff, or if it's like way overblown and it's not like what they're saying it is, then it doesn't matter, because she's always going to be like fighting with the county government. And if she did do that stuff, well, then fucking she needs to get out of there. And I don't know, fucking don't knock the hustle. Get that bag and get out of there.
Well, and even then, the stuff that she's accused of in the report are not necessarily things that would, that would get you fired, or especially since she was elected by the voters, they're not recallable offenses. Nothing she did was illegal. If she had an affair with someone who worked for her, like, that's not illegal per se. You just, it's uncouth, but it's not illegal. So the things she's done aren't even criminal in nature anyway. So the fact that they're taking this long of time to figure out what to do tells me that there was a lot of chatter happening behind the scenes between attorneys, and the county attorney and counsel is probably advising them that, yeah, we're putting ourselves into a very liable situation right now. So we need to slow our roll and figure out what we're doing and be very, very careful about it. But also giving time for her to put together a case and maybe get to a settlement at some point where she can walk away. And she does have that big bag.
And I guess we're
good on her for doing it.
We're in a spot where none of the people on the board who called for her removal want to be the first one to go whoopsie poopsie. I guess we don't need to remove the. Right?
I don't, and especially David Canepa, the president now, right? Like he's the president now, but it's gone on for so long. Ray Mueller was the president of the board before him, and it's segued to David now, so he has to hold the mantle for all of this, and it's just, yeah, you're right. Like no one's going to want to be the one to back down. I feel particularly bad there's a Latina supervisor who was actually friendly with Corpus and supported her, and then it was a big get for the opposition to get her on board with removing her, and now she's out there like on record, but I've noticed she's not saying a whole lot anymore because she's probably like, fuck, shouldn't have done this.
It's almost like the situation, and I'm sure you've seen it, like you've been at events or whatever. It's two guys, because it's always guys, and they something happens, and they're both like sort of posturing, peacocking like they're going to fight, but neither of them wants to fight, but neither of them wants to be the first one to say, I don't want to fight, actually. And I think there's sort of some version of that like happening here.
100%. So we'll see who flinches first, but we'll keep you appraised. That's the only reason why Downballot wasn't a big thing tonight, because there wasn't a whole lot happening on Downballot. We'll have more on the San Jose special election coming up very soon, but for now, we can move on to another thing, and we can close out our docket for the night. Yeah, it's kind of a cute one. So we've been missing the human-animal interest stories, and this one has travel and high seas adventure all wrapped up into it. So I think our listener and our viewer will enjoy this, and the chat maybe.
Report by the Wall Street Journal says Americans are planning shorter trips this summer. The report found 41% of Americans say their vacation will top out at 3 nights away. About 12% of Americans say they changed vacation plans because of the Trump tariffs. The report says spending on airlines is down 11% compared to a year ago, and more travelers are taking road trips. International travel, though, remains in demand as domestic travel is in less demand. Well, one man is sailing across the Pacific right now after quitting his job. Says he had no money and no plan, but just couldn't keep doing his 9 to 5. Reporter C.B. Cotton tells us how his life-changing decision is affecting him now.
Look at this.
It's a dream turned into a reality. One man who quit his 9 to 5 job to sail across the Pacific has gained a massive following. Now his more than 2 million followers on TikTok and Instagram are closely watching his journey from Oregon to Hawaii.
Welcome to day 3, sailing alone across the Pacific Ocean with my cat.
4 years ago, Oliver Widger says he was diagnosed with Klippel-Feil syndrome, which primarily affects the neck and runs the risk of paralysis. It was then he realized his, quote, mortality.
And then I just grew to like despise my life and like the corporate machine.
But Widger had no money, no plan, and $10,000 in debt after his abrupt departure as manager of a tire company.
I literally had an empty apartment before I bought a boat. So like a month after quitting, I bought a sailboat.
He later spent months repairing that boat and taught himself how to sail off YouTube videos, later embarking on his journey with just his cat named Phoenix.
Somehow my cat is doing much better than I am.
His launch to fame on social media has assisted in funding his sailing dream. Widger credits his popularity to his story being relatable.
You can be making $150,000 a year and you still feel like you're just making ends meet. And I think people are just tired of that.
Now, more than 2 weeks into his journey, Widger hopes others will follow their own dream, no matter how impossible it may seem. In New York, CB Cotton, Fox News.
Man, that's a cute story, but man, I hope we don't get a fucking unfortunate follow-up, because being on a small vessel from the west coast of California to Hawaii is a very dangerous proposition, actually.
Yeah, be on any vessel, really, like that for that long time, especially if you are not trained, you have no sailing experience, you learned off of YouTube how to sail. All best wishes to him and more power to him. I hope he does make it. Sure he will. But yeah, I'm very hoping this does not come back around as a story we can't run on Downballot because we don't do snuff on Downballot. So wishing him all the best. And definitely, if you're going to sail from San Diego to Hawaii, make sure you're properly trained and outfitted, and maybe take a friend with you, not just the cat. Or especially if you have a neck condition. Or
multiple crafts.
That too, like some sort of dinghy of some sort. Yes, that would be a good idea. Especially if you have some sort of physical ailment that can't be very easy to sail with a neck ailment of some kind. So again, more power to you, and all good on you for just ditching the.
I mean, I hope he makes
life.
it. I'm not hoping for that story, right? He seems like a nice enough guy, but my God, I don't know. I mean, I guess you get fed up with things and you want to live on the sea or whatever, but what a dangerous thing to do. I mean, I guess, you know what, we'll say what a brave thing to do instead.
Yeah, maybe it's one of those things. Maybe it's like I just want to try it and challenge myself, and I don't give a fuck anymore about the your society, and I want to be out here on the ocean by myself with my cat and just live. I a lot to be said for that. I'm envious in a lot of ways.
Well, that's the show. I'm going to go ahead and full screen you. You want to read the show out?
Yeah, absolutely. Producer Dave, thank you as always for running the dials. Thank you, listener, for downloading the podcast version of the show, which is the, I think, 8th best local news podcast in California, according to some dude. So thank you for that. And of course, for the chat and all of our live viewers on twitch.tv/Echoplex Media. Thanks as always for tuning in almost every Tuesday night at 7:30 Pacific for this wonderful show, Downballot. And please stay tuned for public comment with yours truly. Well, not yours truly. Your favorite producer Dave, coming up in just a moment. Make sure you get vaccinated. Make sure you wear a mask where appropriate. And pants are completely optional. We're going to leave you with audible smoke as usual. And I invite you to have a wonderful week. And we'll see you again very soon. Peace out.
Time to get the party started. Pick up my phone just to check and see who's calling. Dress up real nice for the ladies at the bar, and I'm driving in my car just to get to where they are. Here at the local scene is where I plant my feet. It's where I smoke my cigarette and I hold my drink. I look at all my friends, they're all blazing greens. Here at the front of the stage waiting for MTV. Where are those guys who's standing next to me with a pipe in his hand ready to blaze for me? About 5 minutes later we're all singing Queen. Now get the fuck up on stage, man, rock the scene, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. I turn and head back to the bar for a refill, man, because you know where we are. We're headed out to the car to smoke another one and another one. Now just when the magic starts kicking in, I hear relapse playing, you know it's time to head in. Alright everybody, now it's time to grab a new drink. Spark it if you got it and then pass it to me, yeah. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want to do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. Last up on the bill for the show tonight is Down and Dirty at 5, so we're headed outside to spark up another joint. Now who's got my lighter? Stoner E, of course, shouldn't you be inside? I'm all up in this bitch, being who I gotta be. I'm fucked up like the U.S. economy. The truth is that I don't think logically. Stoner E take you on a psychedelic odyssey. Now inside, motherfucker, motherfuckers is rocking me. And outside shit, we smoke a lot of broccoli. Rocky the roller, yo, that sexy girl be jocking me. Ain't too drunk to fuck, but I'll probably do it sloppily. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy the band, enjoy the band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Molly say that he like jamming and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Well, Bob Marley said that he like jamming and he hope he like jamming too. Well, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yes, I gotta say, thank you, Bob, we do. Yeah, we do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. We do what we want, and what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, what we wanna do, what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Enjoy that band. We do what we want, and what we want is to jam. So sit back and enjoy the band. Just sit back and enjoy what we want is to jam.